Hey everybody, it's Hackernaut here, and I just wanted to cover a quick topic today called directory busting, and more specifically, I'm going to be using a tool called GoBuster, which is pretty well known for performing this specific task. If you don't know what directory busting is, definitely please look it up. It is a major part of any web application based penetration testing, and it can fall into some other categories as well, but for the context of this video we're going to be focusing on that. So the first thing you can do is, of course, just go out to Google. For some reason my hotkeys weren't working there. You can definitely find this just on GitHub. So if we just go out to the Google, we can do GoBuster GitHub, and you will find it there. You will have to follow along with their instructions as far as getting it installed, so I definitely recommend doing that in detail and make sure to follow their instructions step by step to get that installed, because it does use Google's Go language and all that goes along with that as far as getting it to run. Additionally, in this video, we are going to be covering something else called sec lists. And you can Google that as well and go ahead and download that, which I have already done. Now, all sec lists is, or what they are, I should more appropriately say, is just a bunch of word lists, and they can be used for a lot of different things. Now, the reason I'm going to be using some of those as well as some other word lists that are pre-built into Kali is because a smarter way of directory busting, and this goes for brute forcing anything in general, but also when it comes to directory busting, we want to stage things by doing smaller, more targeted lists first, and then do a much larger word list. Of course, the benefit of this is you will get results faster initially if there is something there to find with your smaller, more targeted word lists. Now, what do I mean by targeted? And this is where our sec lists come into play. So let me just show you inside that directory what I'm talking about. So I have gone ahead and installed, or just more appropriately downloaded, the sec list in the regular sort of Kali word list location, which is the user share word list here. And we'll go ahead and do that. And as you can see, I've got my sec lists. Now there's different word lists in sec lists for all kinds of things. The ones we are going to be using are the ones in Discovery. And if we go into this, there's a file or folder location for web content. And by the way, guys, this is all pre-designed, or I should say pre-arranged when you download sec lists. Everything will be in this nice organized sort of subfolder depending on what you're trying to do. So you don't have to go through the trouble of organizing that yourself, which is pretty awesome. So now if I go to web content and I just list out what I have here, if you'll notice, there's some pretty specific things. For example, these are, this is pertinent to Adobe, this is pertinent to Apache, this is pertinent to Apache Tomcat. So these word lists are not huge. In fact, let me just show you, let's just do this general Apache one first. If I see how big this is, let's see. So this just has 31 words in it. That's really great for a number of reasons. A, it's going to be extremely fast, and B, you're going to generate significantly less traffic. Now, if we go into, for example, the other word lists that I'll be using, and we will be using the standard GoBuster word lists, let's see how large this is. For example, this is typically the one I end up using as my kind of general go-to word list for directory busting. And this has 220,560 as opposed to 31. So that is significantly less traffic. You would actually only, generate potentially 31 requests depending on how you do it. So ideally what we're going to do is we're just going to stage it. We're going to do this one first, or I should say this one. And I don't know if we're going to be doing this Apache one. We're going to see what we're attacking and see if there's a relevant word list that we can find. So the machine I'm going to be attacking, at least partially, because we're only doing discovery at this stage. I have another virtual machine here called OWASP Broken Web Apps. So it just has a bunch of vulnerable web apps already installed onto it. Now, I don't know where that is on my network, so let me go ahead and find it. I am just going to do a quick net discover here. And I have noticed, I'm not exactly sure why, this could be something to do with some update I did, or I'm not sure. I have to do net discover on a B class network instead of a C class, which obviously is a much larger range, but for some reason I can't find it, even though it is in my same subnet. So let's just see if we can find it here, and then we will go ahead and run GoBuster against it. And I believe this is going to be that IP. Let's go ahead and double check that. And yep, this is the OWASP broken web application. So let's just, for example, do this webgoat. Okay, and we need password for that. We're not going to do that one right now because we're not brute forcing basic HTTP auth today anyways. So let's just see if there's anything that's more exciting in all of these broken web apps. Let's see here. So there's a WordPress site here, and it says broken WordPress. Now, something I can tell you about WordPress sites, or just WordPress in general, is it is written or developed in PHP. So what we can probably do is look for a word list that deals with PHP to find potentially PHP files. So let's see here. So we're just going to do this WordPress. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to be using this PHP fuzz.txt just so we can get an idea of how this goes. So the first thing you always want to do, and I'm just going to go back to my main folder here instead of being deep down in the word list folder. Whenever you're trying to test out a tool, just go ahead and just type out the name of the tool. We don't know how to use it yet, or if you don't know how to use it yet, that's the point of this. Not only this tool, but any tool, we can just type it in. Just see what happens. See if it spits out some error, and it does give us information. It says right here, directory, uses directory file brute forcing mode, and that's what we're going to be using. And then it also says to specify a -w for the word list, and it also, more importantly, has this help. So just for the sake of this, let's go ahead and do the -help, and it brings up the same thing. Now, you can bring up more specific help by doing something like this. I will specify one of the available commands, and then I will say help. Uses vhost brute forcing, or I'm sorry, help about any command. I believe I did that backwards. There we go. Now we get a much larger list. And all we're really going to specify here this time, we're going to do about as basic as we can go, is we obviously need to specify the URL that we are going to try directory busting and the word list that we are going to directory bust with. So let's do that. We're going to go, so let me clear the screen out here for you. We're going to go GoBuster. We're going to put it in directory busting mode as it had specified. We are going to do the -u for URL just like the help said. We're going to paste that in there. Now I'm going to do the -w for word list just like the help file specified. And we will go ahead and do our beginning step. Now, so usually I'll just dig down in here. We're going to go to the sec lists that we've been talking about because remember, we're staging this for the sake of time and efficiency and just doing things generally better instead of just blasting everything with as big of a list as we can find. So first we'll do user share word lists. I can do sec lists and I will double tab just to see what's going on here because I definitely don't have all these memorized. Remember, it was discovery, double tab again. We want to go to web content, double tab again. 120 possibilities. Yes, more. Now this time maybe let's try this PHP fuzz text. So we can probably do PHP fuzz text. And now that that is all set, again, we've got GoBuster. Let me clear this out for you. GoBuster being the name of the tool, directory being the mode, because that was the directory busting mode, the U for URL, the W for word list, and the word list itself. And now we can just let that go. Notice how that finished extremely fast. And now we have something. Now, this might not be super relevant. I don't know what all is in that word list, but the point of this is that I immediately found something by sending very little traffic. So you want to start with a small word list that is potentially specific to the technology that the web application runs on, in this case WordPress, being PHP. So that's very nice for us. Then you would go ahead and do the more in-depth word list. So now instead of doing this sec list word list, we can go into our DirBuster word list, and then we'll do double tab here to see. We'll do this medium one. Remember, again, this one has 200 something odd thousand words in it, so it is going to take significantly longer. Now we're already finding stuff, which is fantastic, and I'm going to let this go through all the way. Now, since this is all being run locally on my own controlled network, it is significantly faster than it would ever be over the internet, depending on obviously many variables, including what your up and down speeds are and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to let this go through. Honestly, it's already at 25%, so I really don't think I'll be pausing this video. I will just sort of continue speaking while this goes on. Now, the point of directory busting, like I said, if you don't know what it is, make sure to look it up and get some more information on it. But the point overall is to find directories that we don't know are there. So besides the obvious ones that if you go to the website like here, look, I can click on about and then I get to some new URL, right? And it has some PHP ID, and we're not going to go into anything further. But if, for example, I just make something up like whatever, I don't want to put any weird characters in there. Look at that, not found. So all the directory buster is doing is going through and trying different things. So ABC, ABD, ABE, and so on and so forth until it gets 200 or some kind of response like this. And if you don't know what these responses are, make sure to look up HTTP response codes on Wikipedia or something like that, and you will learn more about that. And that is generally the whole point, is so we can discover hidden directories. All right, as always, just make sure that you don't ever do any of the things in these videos against anything that you don't explicitly have permission to cover, or I'm sorry, to send any level of traffic to. And make sure to do this on your own lab environments. That is the best way to learn. And again, here we're done. As we saw, we did this in stages. We did this smaller one, which found this one, and it found it nearly instantly. And then we did this much larger list, and we got more results. So you don't want to do one or the other by themselves. You want to do both. All right, well, thanks so much for watching this video. Again, that was the tool called GoBuster that is specifically designed for directory busting. Now, there is a lot more to this tool, so please make sure to read about it on their GitHub. Look at the help files that it gives you as far as the different switches and flags that you are able to use with the tool. Again, this is something you will use in pretty much every single web application related, either CTF or actual engagement if you're doing a penetration test. And that pretty much covers it all, guys. All right, thanks so much, and I will catch you guys later.